Welcome to part 2 of our database tutorial using Excel. In the last video we set up some drop downs with hints that would load in information using VLOOKUPs, and we set up it checking whether something was in stock or not. What we're going to do in this video is add some other features to make our system work a lot more nice. Okay, first thing we're going to do is to load up the first and the last name. So if we change this to number 1, we can see from our customers that the person's name is actually Professor Mullet, not just Professor. So basically what we're after is it to look up both of those. Now one way to do it would be to have two different cells, one with the first name, one with the last name, and run the VLOOKUP twice. We can actually achieve this all in the same cell using the concatenate function. So we're going to keep everything that we had before, except we're going to add a concatenate to that. So all concatenate does is join bits of text together. You can see down here, after we've done concatenate and open the bracket, we just comma separate them as many as we like. So we want it to join together the first VLOOKUP, which is the first name, then comma. The second thing we want it to join up is a blank space, so there's a blank space quoted. The third thing we want it to join together is the last name, which is just another VLOOKUP. And we can copy it out exactly the same as we did from the first. C10, customers, this time we want back column number 3, which is the last name, and we'll add our usual false. Close the bracket for the VLOOKUP, and we also need to close this bracket here for concatenate. So before I hit enter, basically we're telling it to join 1, 2, 3 things together. The VLOOKUP for the first name, which was going to be Professor, a space, and then finally join onto the end of that the last name, which is going to be Mullet. Hit enter, and it's working really nicely. It's loading the first and last name, which is excellent. Okay, for our system to work nicely, ideally this would be set up the whole way down, like so. So now I can come to here and I can tell it I want a bloodhound, and all of this is nicely loaded up. Once I drag down these ones, however, I get an error, in which case it's trying to do the VLOOKUP on dogs, but because there's nothing here to look up, it can't find it. So to get rid of this, we're going to add one layer of complexity, and we're going to put an if here. So equals if. And basically we're going to test if there's anything written here. So if v16 equals blank, where we just quote nothing, if that's true, we want this one to be blank as well. So we tell it blank, otherwise do the original VLOOKUP. To close our bracket here for the if, hit enter, and you can see our error message has disappeared. And if we drag that down, it should disappear for all of these. So that works, but now if we get rid of it, we get rid of our error. We need to do the same thing for price. So we're going to keep this, but we're going to put it inside the if. So if B16 equals nothing, print nothing. If that's false, it doesn't equal nothing, as in there's a code there. Do the VLOOKUP and return the price of the dog. And now we'll copy this one down. Okay, our formula here is not very happy as well, because it's trying to add up a price that doesn't exist times a different quantity. So 1 times 0 is 0, but it doesn't interpret this one as 0. It interprets it as no value. So once more we're going to add another if here. So if the price is blank, print nothing. Otherwise, times the two together. Okay, so as soon as we put in a price, it times it together. Otherwise, if we get rid of it, it takes away our formula and we no longer have the error. Drag that one down so it's working the whole way down. Okay, the last thing we need to do is we're having an error for our stock status, because once again it can't look up this if there's nothing there. So even though we already have a formula inside a formula, which is called nesting, we're going to nest all of this inside another one. So if B16 equals nothing, do nothing. Otherwise, and now it will look up the stock. So we just need to close that bracket, and that's empty. But as soon as we update it with a bloodhound, it tells us whether it's in stock or not. Let's put this up to something silly, and obviously $1.6 million of bloodhounds is out of stock. So we'll take that and we'll click and drag it down to the bottom. So by using nested functions, which is where you have a function inside a function, you can have as many inside other ones as you want, we're achieving some extra functionality here. Future things that you could do to this is to have set up a button where the order is processed, and then over on our unused order sheet we get it to fill in the ID of the customer, the value of the order, how much they've paid, and then how much is still owing on that.